Mansfield in the morning.
Good morning, Reverend Shona.
Good morning. And how are you this morning?
We're very well, thank you. Our DSG girl.
And you can just hear it
correct.
in the way she speaks. So rightfully Persian beautiful.
Yes.
Oh, thank you so much.
Good.
And you know what? We actually don't think that we have accents.
Good Anglican school.
But people pick it up.
No, we do.
This morning I want to look at fatigue, because I'm finding people are very tired at the moment. So I want to look at all the different types of fatigue that we have. So obviously we know about physical fatigue, and I think, forgive me those of you who are runners, but I think the people who run between Durban and Pietermaritzburg know all about fatigue, and that's physical fatigue. Are you one of them, Johnny?
Done 10 of them, yes.
Oh, okay. So there you go. There's John sharing the mic, and he's done 10. Then we have emotional fatigue, and I think people are emotionally fatigued at the moment. They're up and down, and this is happening and that's happening, and all the stories going around, and the conspiracy theories and so on, as well as just their own emotions that they're dealing with. And some people say to me, I actually can't go there today. We just can't talk about emotion. And if you are a caregiver, we have to be very careful about compassion fatigue. If you are listening to people's stories all the time, if you're a psychologist, if you're a health worker, we get compassion fatigue. Priests also get compassion fatigue. I know that if I've had a really bad week of lots of funerals, I just can't do another funeral. You get to that point where it's just, you actually just can't do it. So we have to be careful about compassion fatigue, and we have to take time off. Just take time to rest, to recover, and to do something else that you enjoy doing. Then you have mental fatigue. Now, in this, I'm talking about those people who work hard and who's studying and who focusing on facts and figures all the time. So when I studied, one of the things I used to do was take gaps every hour, just to give your brain a break. And I say it to students because they don't believe me, but when they come to me and they're struggling, I say, perhaps you're studying too hard. You actually need to give your brain time to rest so that it's fresh. And then they'll study through the night and wonder why they do badly in the exam, but it's because they actually haven't rested. So there's mental fatigue. And spiritual fatigue also happens, strangely enough. I think for priests, perhaps after Easter, when we've had the whole of Holy Week and Easter, we're tired spiritually. And I think people also get spiritual fatigue. Especially people who suddenly found a faith, they go 100% into it or 200% into it, and then they're suddenly tired. You actually need balance in your life of all things. And for me, everything is spiritual anyway, but you don't need to focus on it all the time. And lately, of course, the new one is virtual fatigue. And that's from being on Zoom, from being on WhatsApp video calls, all these meetings we're having, which are wonderful. They've saved a lot of fuel. They've saved the planet in one sense because people aren't traveling all over the world for meetings. But they are tiring. And they're tiring for a whole host of reasons. There's a new word out, virtual etiquette, which means how do we do the Zoom calls and how often should we do them? I think bosses lately, because their employees have been stuck at home, I'm hearing more and more complaints that people are getting calls from their bosses at 8, 9 o'clock at night. Please just go on quickly. We want to discuss this because you're available.
Yeah.
So there's no set time limit anymore. You're not working from 6 to 8 or whatever it was that you did work in these corporates. You're now available 24 hours a day.
The boundaries are being blurred.
The boundaries have been very blurred, and people are getting tired, and it's eating into their own personal time when they would be resting and recovering. I also know that from a point of view of just counseling people, it's much easier for me if the person is in front of me. Because without even thinking, you pick up on their energy, you see how they're dressed, you pick up on the nuances of their body language, which you don't see. They can put on a mask behind the screen. And so you have to work. I was speaking to another person who counsels, and they said, I'm working 10 times harder to get the person and to see where they are. And I see Sam nodding.
Yeah.
We have to work much harder. And I'm sure you're finding that too.
Yeah, with clients, yes.
That you actually have to now try and tune in, and it takes far more energy. So at the end of the session, you're exhausted. Normally the client's exhausted, but at the end of the session, you're actually exhausted. So there's virtual fatigue, and I think we just need to be aware of it. And one of the only ways really to recover from fatigue is to take time out. So we need to make sure that regularly throughout our day, there are times that are our time, where we have time out. I know one priest, even when we're fully operational, from 1 until 2, you do not contact that priest at all in the morning. They go home, they have their lunch, and they have a sleep. And maybe we all need to have those times in our day. So just be aware, you might be pushing yourself too hard. You might think you're in lockdown, you might think that you're not working as hard, but perhaps you're working even harder. So be aware of it. Be aware that if you are tired, identify it and take time out and rest. So may God bless you and keep you safe.
Thank you, Reverend Shona.
Go over, lie down now, Shona.
Here it comes! It's Mansfield in the morning. Driven by Sandown Motors, your Mercedes-Benz partner. On